Well, good day, everyone. Tuesday, the 15th of October, and I'm in Western Australia. And geez, you meet some strange people over here, Russell Broadbent, I can tell you.
Hi, Adrian.
Oh, you knew who I was talking
Oh
about?
yeah, thanks for making that assumption, Russell. He's obviously talking about me.
Yeah, Adrian McRae, Johnny, one of the most controversial figures in the world at the moment, and for good reason, So good to have you here, mate. Actually, it's
Good to
good.
be here. Good to have you here. Never mind
Yeah, because you
me.
live here.
This is my house, not yours.
That's right. That's right. That's right. But what's yours is mine, and what's mine is
That's true.
everybody else's,
That's
and
true.
all that sort of stuff. But anyway, it's great to be here, Johnny. You're looking really gussied up because you're heading for the court today. Give us a brief rundown.
Yeah, off to the Industrial Relations Court in Sydney in Bridge Street for tomorrow. So we're travelling down today. So here we are at the big sheep at the Merino, doing a club grubbery.
There you go, mate. Life's fast in the fast lane. Have you got Caitlin with you?
Yeah, she's with me. Yep.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we wish you guys luck and our prayers, and it's great to have us all together. Russell Broadbent. You presented a letter to the Prime Minister, which has really gained a bit of traction because you didn't just present a letter, you backed it with a whole bunch of scientific evidence and research and links to people who have done and said all the right things for the last couple of years now to try and steer this narrative to a place where we can put the light of truth on it to get people well and to improve the situation so we don't continue to keep making these same ridiculous mistakes. And all that has gone down a pipeline, which has led to a council meeting in Port Headland in the top of Western Australia, which has gained worldwide attention. Take us through, Russell, what prompted this and what work went into it to get this to the point where we now have in this town of Port Headland the whole focus of the world.
Well, firstly, I have to respond to what is any information that is presented to me after some discussion, of course, with my staff and people around me. And because if I don't, I would seem to be accepting of our current situation, and I'm not. So when I receive information, I can't just sit on it. It's like walking past rubbish and not cleaning it up day after day after day after day till you can't stand it any longer. I don't go to that point. I go to say, here's this information that's been presented to us that these RNMA could be damaging in a very specific way. But rather than going by myself again to the Prime Minister or the Health Minister, which we've done in the past, and we've received responses that today would just break your heart because they say nothing. And they say, how our processes all worked very well and what stars we were during COVID. And, and Mr. Broadbent, you are suggesting that there may be vaccine-injured people. Those sorts of responses. So I couldn't go to the Prime Minister this time expecting that sort of flick response, ignore him response. So I said, right, we need a whole lot of people that are experts in this field to back up this report and the information we put in the letter, and only asking that the powers that be in Australia look at the information that's in the letter and in the report that was attached and have a whole bunch of people support me in that process so that the Prime Minister of Australia cannot ignore the letter that's gone to him and the importance of that letter. Because if they do, as has been put to me, cause turbo cancers, well, the world needs to know, our Australian people need to know. And I'd say to you, Graham, have an absolute responsibility to take information like that forward to the government of the day. If I didn't, I'd be derelict in my duty as a federal parliamentarian.
Yeah, and you've done that. You've done that with great dignity and integrity, as you do everything, Russell Broadbent. You're known for that on both sides of the house. And how this, what's intriguing, Johnny Larder, is that this has now gone to a local government, and we've been saying for so long, the grassroots is the local government. If you want to bring about change, that's where the people can affect some of the greater change. It's very hard to move that monolith in Canberra. And here we've seen a very powerful city in Port Headland. It is a powerful city. It is the engine room of the Australian economy. There's no doubt about that. And they have come together pretty much as one, 5-2, Adrian McRae.
5-2, yeah.
5-2 in favour of this motion, which is gaining traction all around the world. I mean, I've been with Adrian. He got here late last night. We were up until the wee small hours of the morning, and the messages he's getting from dignitaries all around the world in this space is unbelievable. We are now at a crossroads brought about by two elected officials in Russell Broadbent and Adrian McRae doing what elected officials are meant to do. And Johnny, you attended a council meeting yesterday in the Snowy Valley.
Yeah, well, look, Hoodie, don't get your hopes up. I mean, this Albanese will dismiss this bill. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's already dismissed a letter from our council, Snowy Valley's council, that was written to both himself and the Governor General, demanding a royal commission into the handling of COVID-19, and that was 8 votes to 1. And they wrote back and basically said, "Oh, thanks for your correspondence." So, I mean, we can't let up. And what Adrian's managed to pull off over there is really significant, and it's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle. But it's only going to work if all these other councils get on board and actually follow suit and do the same thing.
John, let me interrupt you if I can, because I think you've probably missed something that's really important here. In the process of what Adrian's done, he has bypassed all the other councils. They can read it and they can do what they like with it. He's bypassed the Health Minister. He's bypassed the Prime Minister of Australia, even though the article's gone, and he's gone around the world with this. So other governments are now looking at how the Prime Minister of Australia is going to respond.
Oh.
So where the pressure won't just come from grassroots organisations, where there must be councillors across the whole of Australia that Adrian has brought into the net, who have backs-injured friends, who have had people that have died suddenly, who have people who have got turbo cancers, who have got people who have got myocarditis, etc., etc. So the world is looking at what's happening in Australia. And I think eventually the pressure then coming from internationally back to the Australian government to say, how are you going to answer that letter?
Well, I hope you're right, Russell. I mean, but the disregard that Albanese and the Labor government have for elected officials, namely people like yourself, that are advocating on behalf of thousands and thousands of, if hundreds of thousands of Australians, and he still ignores it. So you're 100% right. I think this is...
Well, Graham, I've got to say to you that prior to the last election, when Mr Albanese was the opposition leader, he promised the Australian people, and this is a matter of trust in your Prime Minister and elected officials, he promised the Australian people that if he was elected, he would have a royal commission into our COVID response. Now, there's a lot of people that saw that and said, wow, he's on my side. I'll back him. And they did, and he won, and he has now completely let them down. What information did he get? What information did he get that turned him away from a full-blown promise that he made? He let us down badly.
There's a lot of questions that need to be asked, and they need to be asked in the proper forum. And Adrian, I've watched, being over here, I'm seeing all the flack that you're copping through the mainstream media about what you've done. Before we go into that and how you're going to respond to that, tell us about the process, in summary, the process that you implemented for those people who may not have seen what happened on Friday night.
So we took Russell's letters and obviously the important scientists that co-signed, 52 signatories, scientists, lawyers, humanitarians from the world over. And we, as Johnny sort of referenced, we wrote letters to the Prime Minister, the Secretary of Health, the Commonwealth Minister for Health and Aged Care. We wrote to the Minister of Health in WA. We wrote to the Premier's Office WA, and we also wrote to every council, every mayor, CEO, and councillor in the country. Now, this is obviously a process. It's in process as we speak. And we just said we want answers. We want an explanation. But 24 or maybe 36 hours before the meeting, I looked at it and read over what we'd written. And as Johnny referenced, it was very open-ended, and we kind of gave both the TGA and the Prime Minister and all health departments across the country, we gave them the ability to just say, look, it's safe and effective. Our experts said it's fine. And it gave them an easy out. So I went back to my team and said, listen, they have an easy out here. We can't just get the same generic response that they've been giving to the senators that have been asking these questions in Senate estimates hearings and in question time in the lower house for the last 3 years. We don't want generic answers. We need to be specific and give us answers on the science. Prove to us that our science is wrong, but you cannot use your own outdated, dodgy science to do so. So we actually went a little bit further and looked at through Rebecca Barnett, the investigative journalist Rebecca Barnett's work. We were able to get access to the testing methodology that the government has been using to gaslight all these people asking questions for the last 3-4 years. And it turns out they're using what's called a qPCR method to test these mRNA solutions. But Moderna, who holds the world patent for cleaning out foreign plasmid DNA out of mRNA solutions, in their own patent, it says you cannot use the qPCR to quantify and measure foreign DNA contamination. So I changed at the last minute, 24 hours, not even 24 hours before the meeting, I sent amendments to the motion that we would debate at the council meeting on Friday just past, to say we want answers, but we don't want the same generic answer. We want you to tell us a real answer that doesn't use these dodgy, fake science. Not fake science, it's science that's outdated for this type of technology. You have to give us answers that gives us real science and can prove that the most up-to-date science, like the mass spectrometry and the fluorometry that these scientists in the USA, Canada, and Germany are using to prove this mass contamination. So the fact that we've now pointed that out and taken away their ability to give us generic answers of safe and effective, I think is going to it's really got them on the ropes. And look, to be honest, it's not about I hope they use these methodologies that have been used elsewhere in the world and find that we're wrong, because if we're right.
All right, boys, we're back.
Right.
Now, I just want to say before we go any further, and you remember where you were, to all our friends at the Australian Signals Directorate, who we know monitor our program, welcome aboard, guys and girls. We know this must be boring the daylights out of you because you're used to monitoring traffic in and out of China and Indonesia and whatever, but we'll try and make it as entertaining as we can for you. So, Adrian, you were at?
Yeah, but basically we've just added to our motions, and we amended them substantially with a couple of paragraphs saying that we want the science that proves this more advanced and more accurate science out of Canada, USA, and Germany. We want some science that proves them wrong. Tell us that these things are safe. You can't use the same old outdated science to give us the generic answer of safe and effective. But not only that, we're sending all of that information, both your letters, Russell, the scientific summaries, as well as our motions, to every council, every councillor, and every CEO and every mayor across the country. And as you referred to earlier, when as elected representatives, be it a lowly city councillor or a council like myself in the town of Port Headland, to people in the highest representative of the land in Canberra, you have a duty of care to your people. And when this information comes across your desk, if you sit on this and choose to do nothing with it, I think, I mean, obviously people need to have a good hard look at themselves, but I just can't see that situation because in every council, be they, 9 councillors or 10 or 11 or 5 across the country, at least one of them is on board with this. And every single electorate, be it district, region, shire council or city council, every single council across the country has got constituents that are injured and are standing up and will be putting pressure on those councils to acknowledge our letters and to act on them. And so sending a letter, as Johnny said, to the Prime Minister, if we just send a letter to the Prime Minister, we would expect the same response that you've been getting, Russell, which is next to nothing. But the fact that we've involved every council in the country, this is they can't walk away and ignore this one. This is much bigger now. And for them to even, of course, their response, the fact that already the Premier has come out, yesterday he must have spent half his day on this, and then today again he's already on 6PR again this morning, taking down Port Headland, taking down obviously myself, just doing the smear job, because as they do when they are in these situations, they attack the messenger rather than the message. And people are becoming awake to this. The old techniques of ad hominem, as they say, is the last refuge of a failed argument. And certainly they people are waking up to this, and there's no one in Australia that doesn't know someone that wasn't affected by this injection. So it's going to be very hard now for the Prime Minister to sweep this one under the rug. I really can't see this not becoming a much bigger thing. I mean, we've had something like 20 million impressions in the last 2 days on Twitter alone around the US and Canada and Europe and of course Australia. So this is not they did a very good job, the mainstream media as well as the government in Canberra done a very good job of keeping your letter to as fewer eyes as possible. But this is now blowing up, and they can no longer just keep their head in the sand and pretend this is going to go away. And this is going to get bigger and bigger until they start talking about this and trying to work out how they're going to get around the methodologies and the protocols that we've set out in our letters to say we want answers, but you can't give us the fake answers you've given us before, because we now know through the Freedom of Information request that I mentioned from Rebecca Barnett that your testing methodologies are outdated and they're not up to spec. Moderna's own patents, who has the patent for this for cleaning this DNA out of mRNA solutions globally, says you can't use the methods that the Australian government and the TGA is using. So this is we've caught them out, and hopefully they're going to come up with they can find and prove us wrong here. And the fact that they're being so aggressively, particularly the Premier of WA, the fact that they've been so aggressive in attacking the messenger rather than the message shows me they have something to hide, which is frightening to me, because like I said to you before, I ideally hope that you are wrong, Russell, that I am wrong, and that the 52 scientists and academics and legal experts around the world are also wrong. But the way they are reacting to all of this, if they had the science and they were confident in their science, you'd think they would just be able to say, no problem, guys, here's the science and here's why you're incorrect. But they're not doing that, and that's disturbing in and of itself.
Johnny Larder, were there any murmurings in council meeting in Snowy Valley yesterday about what happened in Port Headland at all?
No, not yesterday, Hoody. It's a newly elected council, so it'll take them a little while to sort of get their head around what's going on. But certainly they're very aware of what's transpired. So I think there's a real opportunity here to pick up on Port Headland's fantastic work. I mean, even in Parliament House there last week, where we had Professor Angus Dalglish and Dr. Paul Marrick, I mean, it was so alarming, when somebody asked a question in Parliament and said about the testing of the deceased in relation to the spike protein. We don't even have the technology here, or they don't use the technology to differentiate the difference between somebody who's died from the spike protein from the vaccine or from the COVID virus itself. I mean, they can easily apply that test, but they don't in autopsies. So, I mean, that's just one example of a complete lack of governance and a betrayal, an absolute betrayal of the Australian people in regards to finding out what the cause is of this excess mortality. I mean, we know what it is. They could easily do these autopsies and find out, but they won't.
Yeah, look, it's just happening everywhere, Russell Broadbent. We were going to visit with friends on Sunday who couldn't make the meeting with us here in the West because their son-in-law, who's about to become a father for the first time, ended up in the cardiac care unit at one of the hospitals over here, having suffered what looks like a heart attack. A guy in his mid-30s. I mean, and everybody's talking about they know somebody who's doing this, somebody who's gone down this road. The turbo cancers are going nuts. I've been approached by an oncologist since Friday night, who I believe is in, I won't mention the state. I don't want to put this person into it just yet, but they're approaching me to talk about their own fears and what they're seeing and the reticence of their colleagues to even acknowledge this. So we're poised to see truth come out. But the one thing I want to say to everyone watching is, from conversations with everybody on this program now, we all desperately want to be wrong. We back on?
Yes, we are. And look, I'd like to say what Adrian and the council have done is they've sent those letters that were sent to the Prime Minister around the world, because even Dr. John Campbell, in his presentation, he showed the letters up. Now, he's got 2 million followers. I mean, and he's asking a question. He's not expecting an answer, but he said, why wouldn't the Prime Minister of the UK pick this up? Why wouldn't the President of the United States pick this up and run with it in exactly the same way? Because the letters are out there for the world to see. And if we think, Adrian, 2 million hits is a lot, just let's see what happens from here on in with the number of people it starts to spread to, and say, yes, well, here's the letters. They're sent in a duty of care and official capacity to a Prime Minister. Can the Prime Minister of Australia keep his international relations and his international authority, his international reputation, if he fails to answer the basic question around health on behalf of the people of Australia?
I just want to.
I think this problem.
Go on, John.
I was just going to say, Hoody, this Prime Minister needs to explain why people of like Bill Gates are having private meetings with him at Kirribilli House. It just beggars belief. These people are out of control.
Well, I'm not going there whether he's out of control or not. I just want him to take seriously his role as premier person in this country, who is guiding the government of the nation and therefore guiding the people of this nation. And if there is a threat to their health and well-being, he is charged with the responsibility of responding to any threat that comes against the nation. Now, I'm putting to him, through those letters, supported by people with far greater ability than I, to say, here it is. Now, what about a scientific departmental response in the manner that Adrian has just outlined in the program? It's not a big ask.
Absolutely, and that's what we're hoping is going to come from this, right?
Look, of course, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, the ultimate goal is I hope they're able to do the relevant science, and relevant being the operative word, that they can do the relevant science and prove us wrong, because God forbid we are right on this, but the science that's coming out, even from overnight, the eminent geneticist Kevin McKernan has released a new study which shows they've done some biopsy testing on some of these cancers, and they are all testing positive to this SV40 promoter sequence from the Pfizer jab, which is completely overwhelmed the cancer tumor. So if these things are now self-replicating, which it appears from his latest findings, then the mind boggles about the psychological liability and the financial liability that would rest upon the shoulders of, I'm not sure if it's the Australian government or if it's Pfizer or if it's the pharmaceutical companies themselves, but the liability, the financial exposure here is bigger than the Australian economy times to a factor of, I don't even know. The Australian economy's annual budget could not even touch the financial liability of this in 10 or 20 years. This is just, it's mind blowing. And I can't see. I understand the Prime Minister and those people in the TG. I understand what the situation they've been now placed in, and I see nothing short of there's nothing they won't do to make sure this information doesn't get out, because if it is to get out, I don't see a way out of this except for a really catastrophic crisis that I don't even want to. The mind bends even trying to contemplate.
Look, we are facing it, and that's obvious in the mainstream media's response. I want to share screen and show something that popped up on the ABC newsfeed this morning. If I can. Popped out. You see that, Russell?
I can see that very well, yes.
Okay, so this is the ABC News, and the WA Premier, Roger Cook, is responding. And I'll go down here and you'll see there's the protagonist, the man they're doing the smear campaign on. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there on Port Headland. But in the middle of that is how to spot when you're thinking like a conspiracy theorist. Can you see that? So when you're being skeptical, and when are you being skeptical and when are you being conspiratorial? Here's how to recognize the traits of a conspiratorial thinking. That would appear in the middle of an article relating to what happened in Port Headland is a clear indication of the gaslighting that's going on in the mainstream media. And so that's going to continue, Adrian. We know that will continue. And what I love about your approach to these things is, okay, I'm happy to discuss it. You're happy to be proven wrong. You're happy to come out and talk to Roger Cook. You're happy to debate with him. But they seem to be avoiding that, and there's a good reason for that.
You got the floor, Adrian.
Sorry, Russell. No, I was just saying, in addition to the article about identifying yourself as a conspiracy theorist, was the Premier's comments around telling Port Headland councillors we should stick to knitting. I mean, the fact that he's gone, name calling and so petty in his argument just shows he has nothing. He's disgraced himself. There's a reason that they're responding to Port Headland. I mean, this could be any town in the country. It could be the city of Sydney or even Perth. But the fact that it's Port Headland, as the Prime Minister himself calls it, the engine room of Australia. They called a national cabinet meeting in Port Headland, last year, just to highlight the importance of the town's contribution to the national economy and to the I guess the geostrategic interest base around Port Headland. Port Headland is it is probably the most important town geostrategically on the nation's as far as finances go, and it is the biggest bulk commodity export port on the planet, and so to insult the councillors by saying we should stick to knitting is it just shows how pathetic and how weak his argument is, and he clearly has he's lost control of the narrative, and he doesn't know how to hang on to it. So I know their first technique, I'm quite confident, will be they will try to dissolve the council. They just want us gone. That will be that would be the ultimate goal for them right now, is just to kick us out and then in hindsight tell us that we're all crazy conspiracy theorists. He said that we're all off the rails, that we have no place even asking such questions. But they're people of Australia aren't going to put up with that shit. So it's really it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks as this gains traction. As we mentioned earlier, it's already had several millions of views around, in very high circles around the world. And the Prime Minister and the Premier and all the health ministers, I'm sure they're drafting their responses as we speak. But I think the quickest way out for these people is to try and dissolve the council, just get us gone. But they're going to struggle because we have we still are a democracy, and they're gonna meet their match if they want to challenge the Port Headland Council.
What was interesting to me was one of the councillors, when in the rebuttal, said that the council should stick to collecting garbage and making sure the roads are okay and the footpaths and all that sort of stuff. She completely forgot that council inspectors are frequently inspecting food and various other health outlets to make sure that health regulations are maintained. There was one councillor who spoke in favour of the motion who I thought was going to come out against it. And he said, if we're going to be involved in the everyday bits and pieces around health in our community, why isn't this the case as well? We're talking about substances being put into our body that are going to cause great harm to us in the future. Why shouldn't we be investigating that? So it's interesting to see. On one hand, you've got local government imposing themselves in everything. They want everything registered. They want everything licensed. They want everything governed to minutiae. And then all of a sudden, when the fat hits the fan, they say, "Oh no, we're only here to do footpaths, roads, and rubbish collection." So, I mean, the whole narrative gets shot down all the time, which I find really fascinating. So,
well, the whole health issue, the health issue is really important because councils around Australia have been lobbying the federal government because every one of them are losing GPs. Now, that's a federal health issue, and this is a federal health issue. So you can't, on one hand, have the councils lobbying to get GPs for their communities, to get them replaced, and on the other hand, have nothing to say about the health and well-being of their community when people have come to them directly and say, look, I'm vax injured. And they're prepared to come to a council meeting and stand there and stand up and say, here's my story. Here's my story, sad but true. So, I mean, you just can't have it both ways. I've just been to a family funeral. An old friend from the fire brigade years ago was there, and she said, "Oh, you lost me, Russell, when you wouldn't have the vaccine." And I said to her, "Well, I've had no unvaccinated people come to me complaining about myocarditis or pericarditis or terminal cancer or turbo cancer, and on and on and on it goes, neurological problems." But I've said to her, but I've had thousands across Australia come to me who are vaccinated with those same injuries. She said, "Oh, have you?" She said, "I'm fine." Well, she is today.
Well, I think too, this is like the judge in the Pfizer case saying that they're not an interested party. I mean, these councils in the majority, they're not only councils, they're not only government bodies, not only supposed to be community leaders, but they were employers, and the majority of them were employers that demanded that people get jabbed to work in a Caterpillar truck,
a tractor dealership,
It's unbelievable.
The dairy farmer on the dairy farm was told, "We're not going to take your milk unless you're vaccinated." Come on, a doctor who was only doing telehealth doesn't go near anybody on her own in a house all day long doing telehealth. They said, "Oh no, you can't do telehealth anymore because you've got to be like us. You've got to be vaccinated." In other words, we don't know why we're saying this, but the mob, we are all vaccinated. So to stay with us, you've got to be vaccinated too. That's just crazy thinking. So she resigned. And so here's another doctor not giving her wonderful telehealth service to the community in Victoria, gone out the door. And then the local GPs were all saying, "Oh, you can't get an appointment 2 weeks, 3 weeks away. We're flat out." Well, why are you so flat out all of a sudden?
And let's not forget that the state and federal governments didn't mandate that their politicians have to be vaccinated. but the majority of these councillors did.
That's right. And I wasn't allowed on council property because I was unvaccinated, and it suited me fine.
Yeah, great.
Well, look, it is crazy, but I guess we need to think about, all right, the can's been opened up in Port Headland and in Canberra through you, Russell Broadbent, and praise the Lord for you, mate. What can we expect to happen from now? Are any of you expecting the unexpected?
Yes,
Russell?
I'm expecting the unexpected, because what they're doing, they'll hopefully try and do what they've done to me for 4 years. Just keep ignoring. Well, this time they can't, because it won't be just the 537 councils around Australia that are going to get a letter and have to deal with it. And if they don't deal with it, if their officers say to them, oh, that was sort of spam correspondence, we're not bringing it to the council table, there'll be somebody in the community or the council that will say, no, we know you've been sent that correspondence. We know that's gone to you, and therefore you must lay it before the council one. So that has its own momentum within community. And I say that word, within community. And the other momentum, it's now international momentum around something everybody can get their head around, to say that there could be dangerous. I'd love to be wrong. And that's what I said to the lady at St. James Church at Pakenham a few minutes ago. I said, Madam, I would love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong, because that means people won't be dying. They won't be injured. They won't be suffering. That's what's happening. So, like all of you, I'd love to be wrong. So, prove me wrong. Don't just say to me, these vaccines saved the lives of millions of people around the world, without any evidence. By the way,
we'd all love to be wrong.
That anybody criticising it, I didn't mind if the Premier came out and had a go at Adrian. I thought, well, he's talking about Adrian. There it is. You know, the world's asking now, what's the Premier talking about? What's the Premier talking about? What's the Premier talking about? Telling them to stick to their knitting. Oh, what were they doing that they were told to stick to their knitting by the Premier of the state? Bang, got him. Secondly, he could have said, I have a report that gazumps their report. The problem is he hasn't. And he was a former health minister. And he still wasn't able to say, oh, no, I have a report in my hand that says that Adrian's wrong. No, what did he do? He said, we know what we're doing. Tell them to stick to their knitting. I say to the Premier of Western Australia, sir, perhaps you don't know what you're doing.
Well, if he thinks that councils are knitting, he doesn't know what councils do for a start. Do you know how to knit?
I'd go all right on the knit, yeah.
Do you?
Add 1, take away 7, or whatever it is, yeah.
Far out. You're a man of many talents, Adrian. You really are a man of many talents, most of them unsavoury, I must admit. But, you know, the pushback is going to be fast and furious, because, let's face it, they're trying like crazy to bail out a ship that's taking in more water than they can get rid of. And that's going to be the undoing of all of this. And all we want is the light of truth to be shed on what's going on, so we can take appropriate actions to get well, to heal people, to restore our country, to restore the spirit of this country, which has been decimated by governments from both persuasions, and get on with living our lives. We've got to identify the elephant in the room, work out how to fix it. That's good risk-benefit analysis. That's good human factors. And we're not doing any of that, as we said, John, in the Senate, in the committee hearings, when we said you can't ignore a wound by saying it's not there. The wound is bleeding, it's becoming infected, and it's beholding on governments of every persuasion, local, state and federal, to do what Port Headland Council has done. And hopefully some integrity will permeate through that council as well, and some more people will start to see what's going on. I don't want to denigrate anybody up there, but I mean, we've got to have people in the role who are acting in their integrity. And no one
let me say this. You know, I saw you have a go at Adrian for his unusual way. I can tell you, I had dinner with him in Canberra, and he was a perfect gentleman with me and my staff. He didn't mind going part of the road and just take him to a restaurant with some notoriety. He's just as happy in the pub as anybody else, and the public and the governments of state, federal, and local have a problem with the four of us: John Larder, Graham, Adrian, and myself. We're not nuts.
No, exactly right.
We're just people.
Well, and that's so true, Russell. And really, look, Adrian McRae needs some backing from like McBain. Christy McBain is the federal minister for local government. Now, she's also my local member. I mean, she was asking questions of me while I was serving her coffee in the drive-through, wondering why I wasn't in an ambulance. Now she knows. Christy, you need to intervene here. I mean, Adrian needs some support. You need to. Russell has just said that this is a matter of life and death potentially for Australians, and on the basis of what Adrian's raised and what Russell has raised in these letters to the Prime Minister, you must on balance pause and investigate this. Stop these mRNA jabs and just have a pause and let's have a look at all this.
Well, John, I'll tell you how bad things are down here at Inverloch, where Graham has visited on his tour around Australia. At Inverloch, there was a pop-up vaccination centre that then moved on to Latrobe Valley, another pop-up vaccination centre. Come on, get your free shots. It's still going on. At the same time, when they've just closed down the compensation scheme, they're still putting these RNMA shots into people as boosters.
You couldn't
still
make
going.
Well, yeah, I mean, here we are. I mean, Professor Angus Dalgleish did an interview with Ben Fordham nearly a fortnight ago now. It still hasn't gone to air. And on the air this morning, they're talking about Anthony Albanese buying a house on the Central Coast for his forever home at some place with views of wherever for 4.3 million. And Daniel Mookie, the Treasurer of New South Wales, on there saying, "Oh, this will be great. You know, I'll be able to get $23,000 in stamp duty from Albo." I mean, this is the sort of garbage that is going on. Wake up, Australia.
Yeah. So true. So true.
No,
So,
we $95 million on bird flu something.
Oh.
I mean, really? Come on.
well, I can tell you that while we were sitting having a cup of tea this morning here at Adrian's place, his phone rang and he took the call. He didn't know who it was, and it was Glenn the truckie, a fly-in, fly-out worker who works out of Port Headland. And he was amazed that Adrian took his call, and he had a great chat with him for 20 or 30 minutes. It was unbelievable. And this is how we restore the spirit of this country. You know, we're all in this fight together. Glenn the truckie is just as important as Adrian McRae, is just as important as John Larder, is just as important as Russell Broadbent and me.
Absolutely.
And we've got to make sure these people know that there are people out there with a square head and a practical logic who are going to stand with them and help them to restore their spirit, because that's what's going to bring this country back to its feet again. It's our spirit that will do that. And what we saw demonstrated in Port Headland on Friday night is a shining example. What we see with you, Russell Broadbent, continually, and those who are representing the people in the Senate of Australia, who are standing up and doing this fight, often to empty chambers and often to a great ridicule, it will win out. It will win out one day. And what does a win look like for me? A win for me looks like we've examined the science. There's some things we need to tweak here because something's not right. We're going to acknowledge it. We're going to fix it. And we're going to work on the health of this nation. What does victory look like for you, Adrian McRae?
That's a loaded question, Hoodie, but I think in this instance, for this issue we're discussing on this chat is some up-to-date science that is incontrovertible. It comes with some integrity and some decency and absolute transparency, and they show that my concerns and Russell's concerns and the concerns of all these scientists around the world are only concerns, and they're actually unverified and incorrect. Not just unverified, actually incorrect. We want some solid science into this. I really want to know that I am wrong on this issue. I pray to God that I am absolutely mistaken, and we've asked a question that needed to be asked, but we are showing that these things are safe and effective. But at this stage, I can't see a scenario where we are incorrect, and that really breaks my heart. So look, a win in this situation is being wrong, but which is very unusual. But at the same time, being correct in our fears here is something I really don't care to try and fathom right now.
And what about you, Russell? What is victory in this instance?
Oh, it's very clear for me, Graham, and it's this: that the powers that be, including the office of the Prime Minister, when the Prime Minister of Australia turns to Prime Minister and Cabinet and says, investigate this or fix this problem, the whole government then goes into fixing that issue or that problem, the resource of government. I look forward to the day when they either listen to what Port Headland Counsellor have said and say, hey, this has come out of nowhere, like David's slingshot that down Goliath. Yep. So the smallest, taking on the very largest and bringing them down. Now, I don't want anybody brought down over this. I just want the facts to come out about where we're at with these RNMA injections and what they do to the body and what it's suggested. And then victory for me is when they look at the interview between myself and Professor Angus Dalgleish and take it on board, because this man was initially full blown on the vaccinations and encouraging people to get them, till he saw what was happening to people around him, his own close network, and what was happening to them. Now, I put to you, I don't want victory to be that people are dropping dead around the Prime Minister and then him saying, oh, we must have a problem, Houston. It's too late then. My prayer is that we will do something as a nation first before we say it's too late now.
Yeah,
sorry, gentlemen, it may be too late.
Let's pray it isn't. Johnny, what's victory look like for you, old son?
Well, I think, Hoody, it's just an escape from what I see as communism. This is madness what we're enduring here in Australia. I mean, free speech is no longer free speech. Governments cannot be trusted. You cannot believe what you read in the media. We are at the behest of, I don't know, people that are out to cause harm to Australians and those around the world. And until we rein those people in, and we can truly have a debate about the pros and cons of things like these vaccines, without any interference from authorities or bureaucrats with a big stick, I think we're in real trouble. I think Russell's right, but I almost think it's almost a bridge too far at the moment, the way we're heading.
Well, I hate to say it, but it's not only Australia, it's the entire world at the moment that's in the grip of unparalleled evil. There's no doubt about it. We can go down a lot of different roads there, but we won't at this stage. But we have to wake up to the fact that we are in a struggle of our lives. This is a battle between good and evil, and never have I seen a country so divided as this one is at the moment on so many different issues, and more about that later. But in the meantime, something has been put on the table that looks like it's effective. If I were in government, I would see that as a hand grenade with the pin pull, just sitting there smoking, and I'll be waiting for it to go off. It is going to go off, and we urge members of parliament and senators of every persuasion to take this seriously. Australia, you must listen. You must listen. The house is on fire and you're not doing anything about it. And if you don't act soon on your watch, you will live to regret it for the rest of your lives. And who knows how long that will be, because we are in a bad way. And
just before we finish the program, because I know you're building up to that, I've got a feeling that something big is about to hit us.
Yeah. And
as a nation, I don't know what it is. But I think it's around the world as much as anything else. I'm not on my own with this feeling. And when that time hits, we're going to have to stick together, brothers and sisters in arms on behalf of this nation. Now, I don't know what it is, but I've had these feelings before.
Yeah, look, I'm with you, Russell. I've had them very profoundly in the last couple of weeks in particular. Something big is about to happen. There's no doubt about it. We don't know which way it's going to go, but the suffering around the world at the moment is palpable. And when we accept the unacceptable, not only as Australians in Australia, but around the world as well, we have nothing to stand on. We have no moral foundation. And we have to start taking action on a global scale because the world is shrinking and everything that goes on in other parts of the world affects all of us here. And we've got to take our heads out of the sand and accept responsibility. So anyway, more on that.
I think too, every council around Australia has to endorse what Port Headland did. We need to send a resounding message to the state and federal government and all the bureaucrats in between that that's the way of the people getting the message out. Adrian's, set the bar, and we need to back him up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I hope the Australian Signals Directorate got the message on this one and take it straight to the Prime Minister. Tell them, boys and girls, he's got a problem.
And we're fighting for you guys too. And we love the fact that you're out there looking after our country. And we know this must be boring the pants off you. I just want to say I'm honoured to sit amongst 3 elected representatives who are doing the right thing. You gents continue to amaze me. You continue to lift my spirit. And it's an absolute honour to be in the trench with the 3 of you and the others who can't be on this program today. So many behind the scenes. I mean, Julian Gillespie, working like a Trojan in all of this. So many other people. We shouldn't start naming names, but I do want to bring a higher power into this as we bring it to a close, and that's customary. So if you wouldn't mind, gents. Dear Lord Father in heaven, we have been discussing truth and we've been discussing evil and the battle that's going on in the world today. And Lord, we know that this is going to come to a climax, that something big is about to happen. Fortify us in the light of truth. Bathe us in integrity and wisdom, Father God. Give us grace and mercy, but please, those people who can affect the greatest change, we pray, Lord, that you will enter into their spirit and that you will guide and lead them. For this is our prayer in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Adrian McRae, thank you for your hospitality. It's great staying with you, mate, and it's been great getting to know you. And you never cease to amaze me. The influence, the passion this man has for his country and for the world at large is palpable, and it should be bottled and distributed to every school around the country. Russell Broadbent, as always, you're just an absolute statesman. You're one of the people that we all look up to. We love your availability. We think your staff are amazing, and we think as a team you demonstrate how this country can function by the way your own office functions. And Johnny Larder, what can I say?
You just couldn't make this stuff up?
No, that's what you say. Go to the IRC, mate. Give him heaps. Give him my warmest regards. And no matter what the outcomes are, mate, you're a winner in our books, and we love you to bits. So on that note, I just want to say to everybody, keep watching Club Grubbery, keep looking at our messaging, and keep sharing this stuff. We don't want to be right. We want to be true. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to stay out of the trees, everyone. And if you love somebody and you haven't told them, for goodness sake, take the time to do it. You may just save their life. God bless you all, and bye for now. Oh, hang on, before we go.
What did we forget?
Trina, your friend Trina.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she wanted us to give her a mention.
Coming from you, isn't that good? Coming from me, mate. Coming from you, Hoodie, it'll make her day.
It'll make her day. Trina, God bless you, darling. We love you, and hold the line. How's that?
Perfect.
Haven't you got something you want to say to her?
Oh, she knows I love her. She's fun.
She's terrific. Okay, a lovely lady in Perth.
And to Paul, of course.
And
Paul, we can't leave you out.
No. Paul's doing all right. He's doing all right. He's married to Trina. So what
Exactly.
more does he want? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.